earlier this year, A24 and Ty West, they released X to the world about a group of people uh, going to film a porn film on a farm, and they exact the wrath of two very horny old people. And people at the movie theaters got to see a sneak preview, a trailer for a prequel called Pearl about the old lady when she was young. And so people were excited for this, but I'm sitting here going, wait, they already shot the movie like back to back. They already got it done. And then it was announced to come out this year, and I went, two from the same franchise in 1 year? The last time that happened was Hellraiser. Deader and Hellworld came out the same year, and people hate those movies. I think Deader is not a very good film. I like Hellworld for what it is, so I was skeptical. I didn't go in with the highest expectations, but then the movie came out, and people started praising this movie. It's awesome. It's better than X. It's excellent. It's one of the best horror movies of the year. And I won't argue that last one. I don't think it's better than X. And I kind of think it's overrated. I think these people were singing his praises. Not really valid in my opinion. I went into this. I'm like, okay, this was the reason. I mentioned it in my review for Jeepers Creepers Reborn. I'll tell you what, found was better than that movie. But this is why this was the main thing I wanted to get from Walmart today. And so, yeah. So I would say I had some excitement for it. It wasn't just like, gotta review it because that's what I do. No, I had some investment in this movie. And so I put it on, and, well, the story is Pearl is living with her parents in 1918. Her mother is a bitch. Her dad is infirmed. He's paralyzed because of a sickness. I'm not exactly sure what that is. Her husband, Howard, unfortunately, is away at war, and that's one of my big negatives, is that I was looking forward to seeing the two connect when they're younger as opposed to when they're older. Because when they're older, he can't have sex because of his heart. There's no romance. And he's not in the film for almost all of the film until the very end. And I hated that. I was like, why? They said, in the beginning, she's like, Howard's away at the war. And I'm like, why? Why have you taken this away from me? You know, we need to see their romance. We need to see them young when they can do this stuff. And no, they don't do that. So that's something we didn't get, you know? And I don't know, there's some things in this film that I just didn't get, I guess. And so now she's on the farm and she wants to be a dancer, but her mother is traditional. No, you will not go on. She's German for some reason. And she's, no, you cannot do this. You have to come here, you have to take care of your father because I'm a stupid bitch and can't take care of myself because even though it's, I don't know, she gives a reason. I want to love my husband, not take care of him, but it's like, you're just pushing the responsibility to your daughter. So, I don't know. And so she's the typical, no, you have to do this and not what you want to do. You have to do what I want you to do type of character. And she strives to be more. And of course, there's killing. But that's another negative I have, is that I'm going to sit down because the horror of this horror movie doesn't happen till towards like the second half of this movie is when she starts killing. I mean, you see her stab a goose earlier in the film. Well, sort of. She stabs it off camera. I will say this. I wasn't expecting this because she stabs it off camera. She sees the goose. She's like, look at the goose. And she stabs it and it's off camera. I'm like, okay, they're not going to show it to animal. And then the very next scene, she's carrying it on the pitchfork. I'm like, oh, shit. And then she feeds it to the alligator. And I went, wait a minute. This can't be the same alligator. Because it's in 1918. The other one takes place in the 70s, I think. In the 70s, yeah. So for that, I don't know. That's a lot of years. Alligator wouldn't be still alive. So it must be the uh, the alligator must have children or something. I don't know. But yeah. So right away I was very confused. Okay, so the first thing that I have a problem with these movies is using the same actress. I know Mia Goth did double duty in X, but it makes no sense to me. Like, she's under heavy makeup, that's fine, but she looks exactly the same as Maxine, but in the 1900s, the early 1900s, 1918. And so it's kind of like, okay, it's the same actress, but she's delivering almost the same performance, same accent. She's a little bit more dramatic because, and this is one of the things I do like, this is 1918. So they have the score, very orchestral. Even the color palette's a little more brighter and not as grainy as X, because it's in that vein of Wizard of Oz, which technically didn't come out to 1939. But, and all those older movies, Gone with the Wind, sort of thing. So those older movies that has those title cards with the loops in it, like Wizard of Oz would. And yeah, it's got that kind of feel to it. An older style movie like that has that feel to it. Fine. Something, and like, yeah. So she's living on this farm. Nothing against the actress, but I don't think they needed to use the same actress, because to me it doesn't make any sense. Like, yes, the whole point of that was that they had similar paths, but one is old and can't do anything when she was young, and she's envying the younger one. But I don't think they need to actually look the same. Like, you telling me that, I don't know. It's very confusing for me. I think, like I said, nothing against Mia Goth. She has a good performance in this, but I just feel like it doesn't make any sense to me that they look exactly the same. Well, she has darker hair, but still, I don't know. It's just something I had a problem with. Where it's like, oh, she's coming back to play a different character. She was under heavy makeup, so the fact that they were the same person didn't matter much in X. Yes, there was a photograph in the back of her when she was younger. When was that picture taken? I don't know if they were going to tell a story. I don't know. But it was heavily shadowed, so you couldn't directly see the picture. With great reason. You should have recast. Nothing against Mia Goth. I'm trying to say, she has a good performance, but it should have been a different actress. Because now they're going to do a sequel called Maxine with 3 X's, because, sex. And she's coming back to play that as well. People are going to be confused. Because, like, oh, Pearl, X, and Maxine, they're in the same franchise, but she's not playing the same character. It can confuse some people. I'm just saying. Wait, she's not Maxine, she's Pearl, but then in the third one, she is Maxine again. It's going to confuse people. You should have cast someone else to play Pearl. I don't think they could have done as good a job as Mia Goth, I'll say that, but it should have been cast to someone else. I'm just saying. Here's another thing I have a problem with. Why is the mom German? It makes no sense. She is German. The dad is paralyzed, but he doesn't say anything. And Mia Goth's character in Pearl, that's the fucking name of the movie, Pearl has a very strong Southern accent. And I know you can say, oh, she was born in America, so that's why she talks like that. She lived in Texas her entire life. But if you are raised, and I know this, okay, so I've seen this with the Mexicans who live in town. They will still speak to their children in Spanish. Their children will have Spanish accents. Pearl should have a German accent when she talks, not be Southern. Why is she Southern? Because Maxine had a Southern accent. So they have to compare that. They have to have some accent because she had a Southern accent in X. The old lady version did. So what's the solution? Don't make the mom German. I'm just saying, it just made no sense to me. And yes, we see she's a very weird individual. She takes baths in the bathtub while her dad is sitting there in the wheelchair, and when the mom comes in and is like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Well, I didn't want to waste hot water." You could just turn him, and then later she does it again, and it's like, what is wrong? And then, so she goes to town to get the medicine for her dad, and she goes to see a picture show, and she meets this projectionist guy. I don't know who he is. But there's clearly some kind of attraction there. And so she goes there and she sees this film. And he's like, "You want to see another film? I can show it to you free." And she's like, "No, I got to get going." She goes back, and as she goes back, she goes in the cornfield. And she sees the scarecrow hanging up. And she takes it down and starts to have simulated sex with it. And she gets off. But there's nothing to get off on. I don't know female anatomy, but I think you need something rubbing up against it for it to work. And she's just riding the hay, and I don't know if that would work. I don't know. It's a very weird scene. And like later, it's implied that the mom was watching, because she's like, I've seen the things you do in private when you think I'm not watching. And I'm like, so you saw her kill the goose and have the sex with the thing, but then you asked where she got the hat and wouldn't let it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I also wish that they didn't have the dad be infirmed, because the guy's performance just doesn't do anything. He just sits there, you know, and it's nothing. Like, we could have had it, but there's one scene that's a dream where he's actually moving and he's clapping and stuff, and it's like, I don't know, some decisions. And yeah, like I said, I didn't like the fact that Howard wasn't really in the movie. I wanted to see their relationship when they're younger, because I thought, okay, they're going to show the relationship when they're younger, so we compare it to when they're older. They're old and crotchety, they can't have sex, they're going to be full of love. He's gone for the entire film, and it takes that away from us. I felt like that was stolen from us. We need to see that. And no, I don't want a fucking sequel to this. Okay, I don't say, oh, we can do a sequel, Pearl 2, or whatever, and we can explain it. No, just after Maxine, end it. Because not that I'm hating on this, I'm not, but too many times, at least, especially nowadays, films were like, okay, we have 3 movies. We could be fine. No, we need more money. We need to make more money, so we need to pump out these movies. Dun, 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 dun. And you could just stop at 3. Once Maxine comes out, just stop. Don't do anymore. But they're not going to do that. We can get Pearl 2, we can get Maxine 2, whatever. I don't need to see a sequel. You should have just had that in this. And there's a lot of movies you could say that, oh, you could see that in the sequel. You should just had it in this. We don't need a sequel. You know? I'm just saying. And if it comes out, they're going to do a sequel to Pearl following her in 1925 or 1930. When she's a little bit older, put a little bit more makeup on her. I don't know. Also, how fucking old were they in the 1970s for that to work? It's like, if she's like in her early 20s here, or if she's supposed to be the age she is, which is 28, 29-ish, and she's supposed to, like, Howard's off in the war, so he's at least of age, 18 or older. So I don't know how old they would be if they're 20 in the 1970s. So let's round it up, and let's say she's 28. 2 more years would be 1920, and they would be 30. So add 40 years, that's 70. So about 75-ish, give or take. Okay. So And this is where the movie really started to dip for me. Is that she wants to do the dance thing. That's fine. She wants to be a dancer. That's fine. But she goes back. She goes into town. This didn't. This was kind of cool. She goes into town. She goes to visit the projectionist guy, and he's clearly got a boner for her. But he shows her the Stag film, which was the early version of porn, which connects to the first one. And she's watching it, and okay, so the back of the box says graphic nudity. So I'm thinking there's gonna be sex scenes and stuff. Not that no, I'm just saying like it's gonna be like X. No, we don't even get to see Mia Goth nude in this one like she was in the other one. That's fine. You don't have to have nudity in movies. The graphic nudity comes from the Stag film, and that's it. You see her in the bathtub, but it's covered up, and then she has sex with the projectionist later, but that's all done off screen. So yeah, I think they're going for something different. And back in those days, those films you wouldn't see it, but those Stag films, which she's like, "What is this?" And he's telling her it's in Europe and everything, and yeah. But then she leaves, sneaks back to the house, and yeah. But then she has an argument. She's arguing with her mother. She wants to dance. The mother says, "No, you have to do what I want you to do, not what you want to do, because I know what's better, because I'm your mother." Her problem is that she doesn't want to stay on that farm, even though we know as an audience that she is going to end up on that farm in her 70s, in the 70s. It's weird. But she doesn't want to end up like that. And so she's doing this dance thing. I'm thinking, okay, she's going to get the dancing gig, and then she's going to go off and do the dancing stuff and have a life. And then she's going to end up back to the farm. Anyway, there's going to be some reason why. Cover it in the sequel, maybe. I don't know. Again, if it makes money, we got to do more. But, yeah. And we also introduce her sister-in-law, Mitzi, who is Howard's sister. And, she's introduced. And, yeah. So then, tells the mother, you're not going to do that. Then that's when she runs off in the rain to the projectionist guy. They have sex. And then she basically goes off on them, on her mother, and accidentally burns her with the pot, because this is back in the day where you hung a pot over the fire. And so she gets burned by it, and she throws her in the fucking basement, and then runs off to the projectionist guy, and they have sex, and then brings back, and she's all like smooching on him and everything, like she's gonna run off with this guy because he's gonna go to Europe. She's gonna run off with him to Europe. But earlier in the film, she goes off, she smacks the freaking thing, "I'm married," but then she has somebody had sex with it, so I don't know. So, she starts going cuckoo bananas, and protectionist guy starts to realize, oh, she's nuts, and I'm gonna get out of here. She freaks out and stabs the fuck out of him with the pitchfork, and now we are getting the horror part of the horror film. She's finally killing him. And I'm like, well, what took you so long, first of all? But here we are. She kills him with a pitchfork. The mom, I can say when he freaks out on the mom, that's when the horror starts. That's when the killing starts. And yeah, so she goes to town for the audition, and Mitzi is there, and they're talking, and Mitzi's like, "Why don't you go for me? I'm too nervous." I don't think she did this on purpose, but that's what it comes across as. I don't think she did this on purpose. So she goes in, and she starts doing this dance, and I'm sitting there going, this is supposed to get her to go to Hollywood? And it turns into this whole thing with like in Captain America, the First Avenger, where the whole thing is dancing behind her and everything. And then it cuts, and they're like, it's going to be a no. And I'm like, wait, what? This entire film has been based on her getting this so that she can go somewhere, and she doesn't get it. And then they say this. They say, you're just not what we're looking for. You're not blonde. We need a blonde, all-American girl with the X factor. That sounds familiar. But listen to what they said. Blonde, all-American girl. That sounds like Mitzi. And so she comes out and she's crying. And this is where Mia Goth's performance started to get to me. She's been really good through the entire film, but her crying sounds like she's trying too much. I mean, she's not just... I'm like, good God, man. I turned down my TV. It's so loud. Too much. And I get it. I get why they're having her do it. Because that's the style of acting it was back then. Problem is, this is 2022. And movie watchers nowadays aren't going to get that. They're just going to say, man, that's annoying. Apparently not, because people loved this movie. Like I said, I didn't hate this movie. We'll get to my rating. I didn't hate this movie, but some stuff. So they go back to the farm after losing it. After she lost it. They go back to the farm, and that's when it's revealed to Mitzi that the stuff's going on. She sits there and she has this monologue, which I've heard people praise, and even Coda Leach has said it's Oscar worthy, and I'm saying it's too long. I'm sorry, she starts it and she does a good job, but after a certain point I'm going, okay, speed it up. Let's kind of finish this. You know, how much longer is this movie at? 20 minutes left of this fucking movie. For me, this movie felt long. It's not that long. It's only 103 minutes, but it felt long to me, especially with this monologue, which people are calling Oscar-worthy, apparently. And I'm just sitting there going, can we end it? Please? Why are you keep talking? And it's basically her confessing everything to Mitzi. That's all it is. And you could have just cut that down to a little 5-minute spiel, and that would have been fine. But she goes on and 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 on about the stuff she has done. And how she wishes that Howard would die in the war so she didn't have to live in it. I don't know. I don't know. But then she coerces Mitzi into admitting she got the role, which, duh, we already knew that, based on the description of what they wanted. Yeah, and so she's like, okay, I'm getting out of here, and she starts to run. And okay, why doesn't she go for her car? And then this one really made me roll my eyes. They do the stupidest fucking thing that many horror movies has done. She trips and falls down, so she's not able to get away from Pearl, and Pearl stabs her with the pitchfork. And then we see her feeding limbs to the alligator. That alligator is getting fed, let me tell you. And then she sets up this she kills her dad, and then she sets up this dinner with this pig that we keep seeing throughout the film that was delivered by Mitzi and her mother that they never ate because the mom's a bitch. And it's just been rotting on the porch the entire time. It's got maggots on it, and they sit there, and it's implied they ate it because, like, they when they show it again, it's skinned. And then Howard comes home, and I'm like, there's not even 5 minutes left of this movie, and Howard shows up. I wanted to see their romance when they were younger. Why did you take that away from us? Why does he only show up at the end? This is bullshit. I don't know. This is not the movie I thought I was going to get. And the trailers made it look like it was going to be a slasher all the way through. And we have to wait an hour in, basically, for this. I didn't hate this movie, but just... And if you... this really... It had me laughing, but it... So Howard comes in and he sees what happened. And she's like, Howard, you're home. And it just pops up the end, and she's doing that smile that you see in the trailer. You're going, and then it just sticks with it through the credits as it gets ready to end. And I'm just like, but, and I start laughing because it's, I don't know if it was supposed to be funny, but I was laughing my ass off. It came out intentionally funny, if anything. And I don't know. And then it finally ended, but I don't know. It was uncomfortable. Uncomfortably funny to me. And the movie was over. So I think this movie is completely overrated. I didn't hate it, but it's gonna get the middle of the road because it just, I don't know. I feel like we should have seen. We don't need to see them courting each other. Well, we should have seen the romance. Instead, most of the runtime is dedicated to her wanting to do stuff, but bitch ass mother says, "No, you cannot do this. You have to do what I say because I am the mother and I'm the one who tells you what to do." Seen it plenty of other times. Why is this movie getting praised like it should be an Oscar-worthy film and it's awesome, it's amazing, it's mediocre at best? In my opinion, I don't understand the praise for this. Maybe it's not my kind of cup of tea, okay? But I loved X. I thought X was good. This, I don't know. Maybe it's when Ty West decides to do certain like styles of films. Like the 70s one, I like. This and House of the Devil, no thank you. This was better than House of the Devil, I'll give you that much. It's better than Cabin Fever 2, I'll give him that much. But I guess it's not my cup of tea. Okay? It's the middle of the road for me. And if you love this movie, that is absolutely fine. I'm not saying you have to hate it. I'm not saying you have to think it's mediocre. I just thought it was. I guess I just didn't get it. I didn't get it. You know, I'm sorry if you think I'm just hating on it. I'm not. This is not a bad film in any shape of imagination. Okay? Let me help you understand something. Middle of the road does not dictate a bad film. It's not saying middle of the road, it's bad. It means I just didn't care for it, and I thought it was middle. And in none of my reviews do I actually think, when I give it a rating, like why something should fry in hell, it's because I hated it. Not because it could be a bad film, it's because I hated it. I give it middle of the road because I didn't care for it. I give it to the moon because I loved it. It's my opinion. So just because you have no opinion, mine's the middle of the road, you could say, oh, it's a to the moon. Or it's pretty good. You could even fry it in hell if you already hated it. It doesn't matter. That's why opinions are the greatest thing in the world, because everyone has them. And they can share them with people. That's what the internet has given that to us. We can share our opinions. Far too often, there are people out there like, oh, if you didn't like it like I liked it, if you didn't love it like I loved it, then you just didn't get it. Then you're wrong. If you didn't hate this film, then you're wrong. That kind of thing, right? But everyone's entitled to their opinion. I just didn't particularly care for this film. It's not for me. So it's the middle of the road. Plain and simple. So, yeah. So what are your thoughts on Pearl? If you know comments, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.